But yeah, we'll start things off with the dollar. So since we last spoke, this one was pretty bullish. I did say if we do manage to break through 106,500, I will be expecting to see a move back to 107.6, which is this level all the way up there. And that's kind of what I'm still expecting price to do. There's a very solid break above this area, quick retest in the lower time frames as well. I drop back to the 30-minute time frame, nice break, retest, and then we're on our way. So dollar to me is looking pretty bullish with a very confident break above that low, especially after the double bottom here from last week. This was NFP, big wick to the downside, closed pretty bullish there. So it was a sign that price was trying to continue this bearish trend. We did break structure not long ago. We saw lower low, lower high. Then we were looking for the lower low. It didn't happen. Price respected that area. And now we've gone and broken the high there. So at this point in time, I do think we can see some more upside back to 107.6. So it looks like we could be finishing the week pretty bullish. Well, we might see some downside to go back and retest it again. So maybe finish the week bearish. But in terms of the next kind of swing, intrigue move, this is kind of what I'm leaning towards. Unless we break back underneath, then we can look at that. But for now, I do think USD has a bit of strength in the tank. Might see a bit of retracement, but overall, 107.6 looks good. I'm going to keep a close eye on the weekly chart to see how some of these weekly kind of do close. It's looking pretty strong there in the weekly chart. For the DXY, I'm not quite sold on the bigger buys yet because we're still trading in massive resistance on the weekly chart. So in this territory, it can only be bearish, especially as a swing trader. If price is going to break through this and see a strong close above, which I highly doubt, at least for this week anyway. Maybe next week's candle might do that because we're going to close in a few hours. But if we do see a candle closure above those heights, clearing that level out at some point in time, then yes, I'll be very bullish on USD, looking for a bit of a trend back to the 113, 114 area. But for now, still trading at resistance. So naturally, I'm still a bear. Don't really have an opportunity to short USD or look for downside because, as I said, we did break through that level of resistance this morning or yesterday, actually. Yep, yesterday. So yeah, with that in place, we might be seeing a bit more upside going into probably next week. So yeah, USD really strong break above the high. This is a bullish sign for me because we've double bottom now, broken structure. So I do think a higher low can form at some point and get a continuation back to the high there at 107.6, but we very much could get there, double top and come right back down. So I'm not looking for necessarily a continued trend here because we still haven't broken through that weekly area. But for now, something like that looks realistic and we might see a big sell. So we'll see what type of price action we get when we get there. But for now, that's definitely a bullish sign for me. So if I go take a look at EURUSD, which is almost doing the opposite, we haven't actually broken through key support yet. Price is still dancing on that level. As we can see, if I drag it across, price is still respecting that area. So with Euro, we might see a bit of a bounce here. I'm not as confident as I have been in previous days with looking for a EURUSD bounce. I think it's still a nice level to buy from. And we might see a push back to this area. But it's a bit more of a range play than anything. I was looking for the bounce there yesterday, but after seeing DXY go and break that high, it's definitely lowered the quality of the setup. It would be nice if DXY was still respecting that resistance in the 4-hour chart as well as Euro. But since we did get that break, yeah, not looking as likely. Might still see a bounce because we are seeing some rejection, but it could open up the door to something like this later on, probably at some point next week, coming back to retest the lows at 1.03800. I'm still overall bullish on Euro because of where we're trading. Again, if I expand to the weekly chart, yeah, this is still a very bullish area for me. But yeah, I just don't have a good opportunity to take it, especially with the DXY breaking that area. So might still see a bounce, still holding to support very well. Just not too confident we go too far with this one. May see a push back to the swing high, and then we get another sell. With Pound USD, it's not really a similar situation. We had a bit of a drop with Pound USD because, of course, Pound was pretty weak. Well, it was weak this morning, but it was weak yesterday as well. As you can see, we had the consolidation, which I've been talking about. Price committed to the downside out of that back into this area, which again might see a nice bounce from this area. No signal just yet. Bit of a wick down the 4-hour chart. hourly chart, bit of a shift in momentum, but not much. So it looks like, again, pound USD is doing okay holding on to this level. We'll see how the rest of the day does progress, but we might see a nice bounce from here as well, but not totally convinced that we're going to see a continuation of this. Might be something like that to retest the high and come back down. Similar situation to euro, maybe a nice bounce, then a bigger sell-off to these lows, which again might form an even bigger double bottom, and we might turn bullish from these areas, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Yeah, pound USD is in a nice area for a buy. I would wait for some development here. Not looking good for entries just yet, but we are showing signs of holding on to that level. So similar to euro, might see a bounce from this area back to retest some consolidation up there. In terms of dollar CAD, I like dollar CAD because that did see some nice healthy momentum to the upside yesterday, clearing the highs out and actually showing signs that, okay, this trend does really mean business and we're likely to continue. I still want to see a little bit more upside before I do look for the break retest of the high here. I'm very much happy to look for a retest of that consolidation because I'm happy with the breakout. Cleared it by some nice distance. If I whip out the fib from the low to the high, coming back into the 0.618, possibly 0.786 if we have a deeper test. But this is a nice area for a long. If I'm going to look to take a buy on the retest of this level, I need price to push on a little bit further so I can get a healthier correction. But what I can say with dollar CAD is that the trend looks alive very much still. We're seeing consecutive higher highs and higher lows. Prices cleared a very strong area of resistance, and it really hasn't looked back since. If this was a fake out, you would expect the price to roll over by now, starting to break structure, see some lower lows and lower highs. We just haven't seen that with dollar CAD. It's still persisting to the upside, and now with that move on Thursday, really, really powerful. So looking at pullbacks now for dollar CAD, looking for a higher low and more continuation. As to where we could be headed, there's some big levels on the weekly chart. There's the high all the way up here around 1.46. That could be where price is looking to head towards. Major resistance up there, strong break of this high. That could be the next big target, 1.46. So there could be a lot more upside for dollar CAD. And of course, if that is the case, we're going to need a pretty bullish dollar. So you're probably looking at the DXY breaking through resistance as well, 107.2 to get to 113. That's kind of a similar move. So maybe that's a sign of more things to come. But dollar CAD, nonetheless, price action is very bullish. Looking for more upside there. So keep an eye on some pullbacks. In terms of Aussie dollar, this one, not really much development. It's still testing. Actually, if we go to the daily chart, still testing some nice areas of support, but hasn't really opened up bullish yet. And also, I don't really like that daily candle closure at all. Big wick to the upside, closes a bit of a doji there. More of a sign of rejection, but if we can start to develop, see some higher highs, some higher lows forming, there could be some nice longs there for Aussie dollar, and that's essentially what I'm looking for momentum to shift, similar to what we had with euro and pound, and hopefully it could be some nice buys shortly afterwards. Still no signs of that just yet, and we're still being very consistent with all of these lower highs, as we can all see here. So yeah, it's still very bearish for Aussie, but we're trading the very bullish area where I do think we can bounce. Just need to see price action shape up and show us some bullish opportunities, and then we can find some longs. But have to stay patient with that, and especially with USD breaking the high. Maybe it might be Aussie dollar looking to roll over, coming back to some lower prices. So need to be careful of that as well. But yeah, still in very bullish territory, so I'm only looking to long so far. Ends the USD, this one. Oh, that's not how you spell ends the USD. Let's try that again. There we go. So ends the USD is a similar situation, but I believe, have we got a closure below or not quite? Yep, just about closure below that level. So it looks like price is trying to break through. I wouldn't say it's the most confident break in the world that we can't break back above. Again, it's a similar situation in terms of we're still looking for structure to change. Yeah, that's what keeps us in the right side of the market. If we can start to see some higher highs and higher lows printing, it means that, okay, this bearish trend could have met its match, and now it's getting ready to turn. If we are breaking through this to continue lower, there's actually quite a big drop between this level and the next level I'm expecting price to get to, which you guys can't see. There you go, which is around 0.555. So it's a pretty big drop back to this area. If we do see a sustained break of that level, which again could mean a lot more downside for New Zealand dollar, a lot more strength for USD as well. But things do shift. There still can be some nice buys there. Things can happen. As a trader, you got to stay on your toes. Potentially, we could be seeing something like this, or potentially might be seeing some continuations to take price down. So we'll see how price develops, but I wouldn't say either one is looking totally clear right now. And then in terms of gold, I do like gold because we did see some upside the past couple of days. We've come pushing back down. I would actually be looking for entries in this area if we had a more confident break of the high, because all we did was come back and respect it, fired some wicks into that area, and then we had a pretty strong rejection. So if we had some confident candle closures above the high, then I would be looking at this as a pullback to retest that range and looking for some high lows to take it further. But at this moment in time, it's more of a double top. It's more price just coming back to respect resistance. So I'm not looking to take any buys just yet with gold. We very much could bounce off this area. Still think it's a nice place to go long, but I just wouldn't try and look for a complete swing here, because actually price is doing a pretty good job at respecting resistance there. So yeah, for gold, I'm still looking for a pushback to all-time highs. I think it's a nice place to go long in this area. I just wouldn't look for anything crazy. A nice bounce for the afternoon can make some sense. But if we created new highs, that would be a different story, because at that point, we've got some bullish structure at play. We've got the swing low, swing high, higher low, higher high. Now you're expecting the next higher low to form. And that would be a great area to anticipate that. But because we've got equal highs and prices respecting it, of course, it doesn't mean we can't put a higher low and continue, but it does lower our chances of seeing it. So yeah, for that reason, that's why I'm not looking at gold, but I think it's a nice place for a bounce. I just wouldn't look to trade that or hold that trade for too long. In terms of silver, we're pretty bearish yesterday as well. Both gold and silver came crashing down. Silver is looking a little bit awkward, to be honest. I wasn't expecting so much momentum to the downside, so that has made the buys a little bit awkward. We're still holding on to support here, which is the key thing. I'm looking for a high low, but it's not really ticking my boxes right now, especially with a really strong impulse to the upside, consolidation, and a really strong impulse down. Not really healthy signs of a pullback. As I've said many times on the stream, I'm looking for impulsive moves, then slow moves back down. And those are the moves I want to go against, because they're likely to continue in that direction. When I'm seeing impulse up, impulse down, especially for consolidation in between, not really a healthy sign of continuation. I'm still very bullish on silver nonetheless, because again, my high time frame is what dictates that. So we could even have another push down first before pushing up. As long as we don't take out this low per se, around 26, I'm still very much looking at this as a big correction for us to continue, but it might mean we have another bearish leg first, which makes me have to be a bit more patient before I do take any buys. But still looking at taking gold to gold and silver to the upside. But after that price action yesterday, it has made things a bit awkward. So I'm gonna hold out a little bit more with silver. Still looking to buy it, but nothing presenting itself just yet.